Life has a way of showing us what we need to learn, often through the people we meet and the moments that change everything. This is a story about transformation, about discovering that the strength we need has been inside us all along. Elena lived in a quiet coastal town where misty mornings rolled in from the ocean and salt air filled every breath. It was the kind of place where everyone knew each other's routines, where privacy was almost impossible, and where stepping out of line felt dangerous. Lena was a thoughtful person with genuine care for others, but she carried a weight that few could see. She believed something was fundamentally wrong with her. While other young people seemed to navigate social situations with ease, Elena felt like an outsider watching through glass. Days blurred together. She spent them alone, immersed in novels and documentaries about distant places she dreamed of visiting but feared she never would. Her anxiety whispered lies, that she would fail, that people would judge her, that she didn't belong anywhere. So Elena stayed silent. She stayed small. She stayed hidden. Part 2. An unexpected thing changed on an ordinary Thursday morning when Elena ventured to the harbor market. While browsing the flower stall, she noticed an older woman struggling to carry multiple baskets down the steep stone steps. Without hesitation, Elena rushed forward. The woman, whose name was Margot, had kind eyes and moved with surprising grace for someone her age. When Elena helped steady her load, Margot looked at her with genuine warmth and said, "You have a good heart. Not everyone stops to help anymore." Something in that simple acknowledgement cracked open something in Elena. When Margot invited her for coffee at her nearby studio, Elena surprised herself by saying yes. Margot's space was unlike anything Elena had imagined, a converted lighthouse. Studio filled with half-finished paintings, shelves overflowing with art books, and windows that framed the endless sea. As they sat with steaming mugs, Margot began sharing stories about her younger years. The risks she'd taken, the failures she'd survived, the beauty she'd found in vulnerability. "I was terrified once too," Margot said, watching the ocean. "Then I realized I was spending all my energy trying to be invisible. One day I decided to try something different. Every single day I would do one thing that scared me. Something small, a conversation, a swim in cold water, showing someone my art. The interesting thing was, nothing catastrophic happened. I just started living." Part 3. The first SBARK. Elena left that meeting altered somehow. Over the following days, Margot's words echoed through her mind like a song she couldn't forget. What if she stopped hiding? What if being different wasn't a curse, but simply what made her who she was? The village had a community talent evening coming up. Lena had always admired it from afar, but this time, instead of watching, she submitted an entry. She would recite a personal essay she'd written, something vulnerable and true. The night arrived with a storm in her chest. Standing beneath the stage lights with dozens of eyes on her, Elena's hands trembled. But she began to speak, sharing her words about loneliness and longing, and the courage it takes to be seen. Her voice shook, but it didn't break. When she finished, the silence that followed felt endless. Then the applause came, warm and genuine. People approached her afterwards, some sharing their own stories, others complimenting her honesty. The first time Elena understood that vulnerability wasn't weakness. It was connection. Encouraged by this opening, Elena joined the community art studio that Margot mentored. She'd always loved creating, but fear of criticism had kept her from trying. Now, surrounded by other students of varying skill levels, all of them learning together, Elena picked up a brush and began to paint. Her first pieces were rough and uncertain, but they were hers. With each new canvas, her confidence grew. Part 4. Finding her Vayaka. Months passed. Elena had been transformed from the girl who never spoke into someone people sought out. The studio was organizing a showcase, and she decided to enter something more ambitious. A multimedia piece combining painting, music, and spoken word. All things that terrified her. The night of the showcase arrived. Elena stood backstage, every doubt trying to pull her backward. And she thought of Margot, of that first essay she shared, of all the small, brave moments that had brought her here. She stepped into the light. What happened next wasn't perfection. It was better. It was real. It was Elena, completely honest, completely exposed, and completely alive. Her hands painted invisible strokes as she spoke her words over ambient music she'd composed. It was messy and beautiful and entirely her own. Response was overwhelming. People stood as she finished. Some had tears in their eyes. Elena realized in that moment that her authentic self wasn't something to hide. It was the most powerful thing she possessed. Part 5, Below SSOMI, and everything shifted after that night. Elena made friends who didn't judge her quirks but celebrated them. She discovered new passions: marine biology, photography, traveling to the coastal villages nearby. Most importantly, she began to trust herself. The shy woman who once questioned her value had become someone who understood. Confidence isn't about being perfect or always knowing what to say. It's about accepting yourself completely, honoring your unique perspective and taking small, courageous steps forward. Each step, no matter how small, built upon the last. Alina began to see her differences not as flaws, but as her signature. Part 6. The ripple BAGNS years passed, and Elena's transformation continued. She traveled to other towns and cities, sharing her journey with anyone who would listen. Volunteered at youth centers, mentoring young people who felt as lost as she once had. Her essays were published in regional magazines. Her artwork was displayed in galleries. But more than any external recognition, Lena found satisfaction in knowing she'd helped others find their own path to confidence. She'd become what she needed when she was younger. Proof that change is possible. Part 7. Catalyst for OTH Aresta. Community where Alina lived began to change because of her influence. Yes. When the town decided to host a cultural festival, Alina was asked to help organize it. This time, the responsibility didn't overwhelm, it energized her. She coordinated performances, designed the layout, brought together artists and musicians from across the region. The festival became a celebration of authenticity and creativity, a reflection of Elena's own transformation. One spring afternoon, a teenager named Jordan moved to town. Quiet, anxious, convinced of their own inadequacy, Jordan reminded Elena so much of her former self that it ached. Elena recognized the signs of someone drowning in self-doubt. She reached out, befriended Jordan, and slowly, steadily, encouraged them to step forward. Watching Jordan's transformation, seeing them perform music they'd written, seeing them lead an art workshop, seeing them smile with genuine confidence, I understood something profound. Her journey wasn't just about her personal freedom. It was about becoming someone who could light the way for others. Part 8. Expanding ICON. With the support of friends and mentors like Margot, Elena made a decision that younger Elena would have thought impossible. She would travel the world, and not as an escape, but as an adventure of discovery and service. She spent years moving through different countries and continents. In each place, she connected with people, listened to their stories, and shared her own. She documented her experiences through photography and writing, creating a journal that later became a book. That book found its way into the hands of people. She'd never meet people in cities and villages around the globe who read her words and thought, hey, if she can do this, maybe I can too. Part 9. Returning home after nearly a decade of traveling, Elena felt called back to the coastal town where everything began. The moment she arrived, she was welcomed like a homecoming hero. The people she'd known had followed her journey through her published work and social media. They were proud of her, but more importantly, they showed her something she hadn't fully grasped before. Her courage had given them permission to be courageous too. Elena established a foundation dedicated to helping young people from underserved communities access art education and mentorship. She continued painting, writing, and teaching. She visited Margot's grave regularly, leaving fresh flowers and sitting in quiet gratitude for the woman. Its simple act of kindness had redirected the entire trajectory of her life. Part 10. The full circle of years continued their passage. Elena, now in her middle age, looked back with profound gratitude. Yes. She had lived a life full of genuine adventure and creative expression. She had faced her deepest fears and discovered they couldn't destroy her. She had found her voice and learned to use it not just for herself, but for others. True confidence, Elena understood, doesn't come from external validation. It comes from accepting yourself completely, celebrating what makes you different, and choosing to show up authentically even when it's difficult. It comes from believing that your existence matters and that your voice deserves to be heard. Part 11. Legacy and Emotio and Elena's impact spread far beyond her immediate community. Universities invited her to speak. Schools incorporated her story into curriculum about resilience. Her mentorship program expanded to multiple cities. Young people she'd never met wrote to her about how her journey had inspired them to pursue dreams they'd previously abandoned. But why?